Okay, we are live, I think. Let me fix this camera a wee bit. Hello, everybody. Good evening. We are back at it. Keep working on this study that I started in the last stream. And yeah, there we are. I am Lynell Ingram, artist, and this is my channel, Paint Fumes. Welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight. We'll spend a bit of time kind of doing some tweaks on what I have so far, and then eventually getting up to adding in all the rest of the details. It's interesting how much the light changes a little bit, even though I've spent a lot of time really adjusting the white balance on the camera, so it should be good. But I find that this looks much greener than I want it to. So I'm going to do some tweaking to the gold tone before I do about anything else on here. Getting into like more of the detail and all that fun stuff. So that will probably be the best place to start this evening. And I have my palette. This is my palette paper right here. I'm going to be using, I've been using the Arteza gouache colors, acrylic gouache. And this project is my first go at using them ever. So yeah, we're kind of doing some experimenting. And let me think of what colors I think that I will need. Definitely shades of yellow and orange. And black. It's real nice to get gold tones by mixing a little bit of yellow or oranges with some black will get you nice gold tones, but you do have to be careful about it leaning a little bit into the green family. Yeah, who'd have thought? Yellow and black make green. They do a little bit. A really nice gold actually can come from yellow and a really dark purple, dioxazine purple. Don't know what I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure that I don't think that I have that color. So I did is I just bought a set. 24 acrylic gouache colors from Arteza because I've never used acrylic gouache before, so this was kind of experimenting with some new mediums and just a collection of colors that were kind of pre-selected to get me going with. So if I like working with them, excuse me, I'm dropping things already, then I would fill in some gaps and get some of the colors that I really enjoy using. I think that this is a good set for starting with and learning with. And kind of getting the feel for them. They definitely fall somewhere in between acrylic and watercolor. Very matte, which is nice. And as somebody who has experience working quite a bit with both acrylic and watercolor, more than probably any other paint, I've found that working with these isn't too much of a crazy challenge. See, and there's a lot of little blue ornamental bits that are happening also, so I'm going to grab some Egyptian blue. Looks about right. So yeah, I think that this is going to be primarily my palette. I've got white, black, red, orange, essentially like your classic cadmium shades. This Egyptian blue looks pretty close to an ultramarine. They call this Aureolin yellow, whatever. And bumblebee yellow. Okay. So, whatever those names mean, very little to me. That's what they call them from that brand. So, just get a little bit down. I did notice that these do dry quite fast on your palette. So I'm kind of just going to put down what I'm going to be working with a little bit at a time so that I'm hopefully not, wasting too much color. But yeah, to start with, we're going to just kind of adjust the tone of the gold shades. So get my reds, my yellows, and then a little bit of white and a tiny bit of black. I'm going to start there. I'm pretty happy where my skin tones are. I could get in with some more detail, distinguishing out where the fingers and some of that kind of thing are. I will see how much of that. I'm working quite small. I'm sure you could see that here. Just so that I don't get bogged down in simply the details, as that is my logic in choosing this size canvas. I kind of wanted to get a bit more of an overview. But all right, so I just start out with some pretty small kind of dabs of color, and I can go with probably about the biggest brush I'll use on any of this. This is not quite a ½ inch flat brush, maybe a 3/8 inch or something like that. Number 7, so 7 inch, number 7, kind of a hog hair flat brush to get started with. So I'm gonna mix up some of my color here, and I'm gonna lean it a little bit more heavily into the oranges, the warmer parts of the gold, and kind of do some washes on here on the background. So let's see where that gets us. I'm kind of scrubbing it on so that it's almost a little bit, a bit of a translucent wash. And I like a little bit of variation, so. One thing is kind of scrubbing like this with a brush is that starting to get some hairs down there that I'm not sure whether it's a cat hair or actual bristles from a brush. So I'm going back and forth a little bit between looking at my reference, which is kind of right in front of my face here, between looking at that and the reference that's on the screen that you guys could see, which the tones are a little bit different simply because of the reflective quality of the gold leaf used in it. So it can look very different from one reproduction to another, which is a very interesting quality about it. So I'm sort of pulling out the initial color that I blended there. As I'm working, I'm like pulling out little bits of it and then pulling in different colors into it to give me some variations. right. Getting closer to something that I'm happier with here. All right, there we go. I think that will do the trick, mostly. Okay, that was a cat hair. Alright. So I think that's a good spot for that, for getting the gold looking like I about want it to be looking. So, alright. This dries really fast, so I'm going to give that just a minute to dry, especially since I'm doing kind of washes. And take a sip of some tea. Made some tea right before the stream starts, and I rarely ever make tea, but it just sounded good for some reason today. I think I want to take this green and make that a little bit more flat also. The tone of it's pretty good. The value, the tone, but just, I think it should be a little flatter in execution. So, let's see. Oh, sorry, just trying to like work my brush here. Need a little more color. Get the right balance of the color of the green. This is getting close. It's pretty blue. It's almost got a little bit of gray in it. And that black goes far when you're mixing it. Alrighty. One more white, one more blue. We'll get it there. If you want that really flat, soft look that gouache can give you, you gotta put your color on a little thicker, a little less water in it. Like not much water in it will give you that nice coverage. Yeah, just about. Definitely gets a little bit lighter at the top, so I'm going kind of real gentle with that a little bit of white. Also, if you're looking to get a really smooth gradient of color from dark to light, you want a bigger brush, probably, than like what I'm using, but I kind of am also trying to capture that bit of texture that's happening there. I don't know where that came from. Some dried up paint landed on my paper here, my canvas. All right. So we can start getting into some of the really fussy details on here at this point. I think that we've kind of got everything in place to do so. The fun part. I might start kind of from like this area of what she's wearing and kind of radiate out with details. It is primarily her dress and some of the background right around her anyway, where all of the variation is. What's happening in the background is really just like a texture of applying the gold leaf, which I can at some point go back in with some kind of more dry brush, rough brushing and get a little bit of that. If we decide at the end that that would look appropriate, but we'll kind of see how it goes. Green tea tastes really good tonight. All right, so got a few things to add in the details on her dress, right in this section where I kind of started a little bit last time. Just full up from there, so here we go. Let's get some of those triangles. I'm using a very, very tiny brush. Looking number 4 round. It says, that's what it says. I could get a little deeper. Starting to lose where some of her fingers are coming down here, so I gotta be careful with that. I'm probably gonna have to go back in and kind of reestablish those. I spent most of this weekend getting 32 paintings matted and framed and ready to put up at local library here. And the entire time I've been just like kicking myself for why I wait till the last minute to do these things. Because I had all the things done. I took care of the ordering. I got the mats cut for myself, and I got some pretty basic frames ordered. And when I got them in, it's like, okay, I'm in good shape. I don't need to worry about it for a little while. And then I promptly forgot about it. Like I knew it was coming in the back of my mind, but I was unwilling to put any brain, like, nope, I got time. Nope, I got time. Use it, think about it. And then, lo and behold, it's 3 days before I need to hang the work. So, yeah, that's been a fun time. There's a thing about having an ADHD brain where everything either exists right now, it's right now, or it doesn't exist. And it's very, very true in the way that I know that my brain functions. Oh, it's not tomorrow? I have time. I'm not going to worry about it right now. It is not the best way to be, because time gets away from you very quickly. So in some of these areas where I'm painting, because I'm working very small with the idea of just trying to get like the concept of things and learning about the composition and the idea of working with ornamentation a little bit, I will certainly be simplifying down quite a few areas of the pattern, at least to some extent, or kind of interpreting them a little bit. Just to make this a doable project. I did not want to work on this for, 6 hours or more than, or even more than that. That's not my intention here, to get a photographic copy. I just want to try some things, learn what I can from the process that Klimt used here. The little straps on her dress are even like super, super detailed little bits. Goodness, okay. Stop my head here. Little tiny touch of this coral red color. I use this for the peach in her face and the pinkish triangles in her dress. It's not used much else in the painting, almost at all, those pink tones, but they give life to the figure, so it's kind of interesting. They are right there. Just the tiniest little suggestion of them. Sides of the straps. Or at least on the one. Not so much on the second strap. And I need more blue because I used all my blue to make the green. So we're just going to start out with tiny bits. I probably could have put down a lot less of the red and orange at this point, but working with what I got out here. I'm going to do my best to not waste a ton of paint doing this. Okay, her necklace. Lots of very tiny dots for the little tiny gems and sparkly bits. An interesting element of working on this too is that I struggle with having a lot of patience for extremely detailed things. But this is interesting to me in the way that it's a lot of different things going on. Like one tiny area has this detail, the next one is very different, so it's sort of able to keep my attention in that way. So really getting into some tiny little bits here. I'm just mixing very, very small amounts of paint for some of this stuff. Of course, feel free to chime in with questions or anything if anyone is curious about what I'm thinking or doing. Okay. There's some little bits of blue happening with the triangles on the dress and little spots too. Blue seems to be the most common contrast color used throughout. It's both in the background patterns in the dress. It's the shadows on her skin tones as well. So it's pretty interesting. Alright, that looks okay. One thing last stream when I was doing some of the gold tones, I accidentally went over my skin tone here, so I'm going to Try to get some of that back here. Just need a very small amount of that also. So. Oops. Apologies for knocking the mic with my brush. It's kind of new, apparently. Since I kind of needed to go back in with some of the details for the fingers I was using. That was too bright, but we are going to tone that down. Still too bright. This is an exceptionally pale lady. Which would generally probably be a thing that portrayed class. And status a little bit. I'm still very fascinated by the way that Klimt paints characteristics of figures in these types of work that he does. Just the weird angles. Like elongated hands and fingers, and everything's kind of elongated pictures. Alright, so that might be actually enough for detail in the hands. And there's another weird contrast between the image in my reference here. If you look at the differences in skin tone, they're much lighter and brighter here than they are on screen. So when I'm looking at that reference and then I kind of peek over to the screen to see what you see, it's not exactly a match, but gotta pick one or the other to work off of, I suppose. Alright, so we are going to get rid of that cat hair and start moving on to the jewelry on her arms. As I continue to do other things instead. Sometimes there's only so much fighting where your brain takes you. Okay. Some super reflective gold bracelet here. Bracelets. The other one a little less so. Okay, with that, I think it's onto the dress. Stop before. Let's help with the lighting. I actually have a plan for doing some lighting adjustments in here very soon. Oh, my cat came. Didn't even hear you come, Mr. Watson. There he is. He's here to watch along and hang out. And he likes to watch some mouse videos over here, so I just let him do that. To keep him chill and relax and just hanging. Okay. So I'm going to start getting into some of the finer details. The things that aren't standing out quite as much, like some of the just line work in the dress. And there's swirls in some areas in the background, so those are some more subtle things that we'll start with maybe. So we need to mix definitely some white. And there's some gray element to it too, so a tiny bit of black, but that's why this black goes far. Okay, so a bit of a gray tone. Just a touch of some gold. And we'll start there. And a lot of these swirls just kind of follow the movement of the dress. These random lines, some of them are whiter, some of them are more gray. So after I do this initial round, go back in and add more black to the color, make it more gray, and do it again. Oh, I was starting to talk about getting all that artwork framed and matted and everything. And because it's all portraits of people, I also, for my labels, add a little bit of a description to them. So, you know, this is who it is and who that, not just the name, but kind of who that person is in the context of history or culture or whatever. And that took forever too, and then realizing I didn't have the right paper to print it on, so I'm gonna go grab that last minute, get those cut out, printed cut out, and put on. Yeah, just, wait until like the day before I need to have them there to do the bulk of that. So everything always takes longer than I think it's going to. But got it done. Got to the library this morning, did the hanging. And this is a situation where you go in as the artist and you need to hang your own work. So that was a project. Took a little time to get everything right up because, again, 32 pieces. And they're hanging on the wire. They have those, that system where there's a little channel, the wire hangs down and your hook's attached to the channel, or to the wire that hangs down. Yeah, that makes sense, right? So yeah, that was trying to get things to be level and even when they're hanging like that is a whole nother thing. By the time that was done, I'm kind of done. I felt pretty done with the day, but managed to pull myself out of that feeling and get going here. But it'll look nice in the end too. I should post pictures that I took of everything hung up in their lobby there, on the lobby gallery walls they have. Put them on Instagram or some such thing. I'm getting pretty close to being done with this lighter color. Okay, that's pretty subtle, but that's about right, I think. So now I'm going to get a little bit darker of a gray tone and then do the same thing again. Probably gonna need to get more white. Let's see. I haven't quite gotten the hang of how the gouache is when it dries yet. Like how light or dark it dries to. This tone is probably mostly okay. Maybe a little more water in there so it flows a little bit. I don't recall reading if Klimt was ever actually married to his lady, but she was this is not her that he painted here. She was a fashion designer, and apparently he would, like his paintings were a part of that, whether he was helping to design things and come up with ideas for things that she might make, or painting things that she had made. It's pretty interesting. I'm using a lot of water in my paint here now, and I'm using really quick brush strokes. So that they'll be thin and kind of fluid. Okay, I think that kind of gets the idea of those sweeping lines of the fabric for the most part. Just over here. The next part of doing that part, like the kind of cape element of this dress, will be the little kind of coffee bean shapes, a few pyramids and rectangles that are happening. So once that's good and dry, I'm gonna go back in and add some of those things. In the meanwhile, do some swirls. Which needs a kind of this color with a little bit more, a little more gold to it. Brownish gold color we'll take. I think that will do. Let's take a look. Actually is a bit of, I'm looking at the areas that are here and over here. There actually is a little bit of green in there too. So we'll just start trying to draw tiny little spirals. To make that work, still need to keep this paint pretty wet to be able to flow like that. It's just one spiral after another butting into each other. It can't all be the same amount of that color. Some of them need to be darker than others or lighter. I need more white. Go. There's some areas where they almost don't show up in the reflections. Just tiny bits of more of my yellow tones. Keep going with that. Need quite a bit of golds tones in this piece constantly. I throw a little bit of what they call pastel yellow on here too, just to give me some more variation to work with. When something gets really repetitive or boring or whatever, there's parts of projects you're working on that become almost like a struggle to get through. One of the things you can do to kind of help yourself out is kind of create almost like gamify it a little bit. Does that make sense? Like, for every so much of this I get done, I'm going to do something, have something, stand up and stretch, even give myself X amount of minutes on social media or playing a game, or that much time. Like, I'm going to give myself 3 M&Ms for every section of swirls I finished. You know, sometimes you have to be clever and like fooling your brain into thinking that something is fun. I'm not the greatest at doing that, but it is something that can work. I do find myself getting wrapped into like counting things, like and looking for patterns and things when my brain is kind of bored. I just start to seek out things along in that kind of area. The most boring thing ever, though, was when I was in college on summer breaks. I was working a factory job where it was a factory that made tubes for cosmetics. Mostly cosmetics. I think probably some other things too. Oh, man. Sitting at the end of a industrial production line where the tubes would be spit out on a conveyor belt, and I had to pick them up and pack them in a box. Very like I Love Lucy-esque, I guess. Yeah, those were brutally long, and it was nights. I was working night shifts, brutally long nights, 8 hours at a time, and it was droningly loud. You had to wear not headphones, but earplugs because of the volume of the equipment. Everything was running on hydraulics, so it was just loud hissing. Wouldn't take long to damage your hearing without some kind of protection. And it was just, yeah, not a fun time. And I would just find myself doing like just spacing out and kind of like counting things as I was going, just trying to find something to pay attention to, some kind of stimulation anywhere that I could get it. Those were tough nights. That was a pretty good, decent paying job for a college student, that they allow me to do that on a temporary basis. It always helped me make a pretty good tuition payment for the next starting semester. I think 3 summers I did that. It was not sad to be done. Of course, I went from that to different kinds of boredom and jobs too, from working in banks and stuff like that. That's exactly what an artist with ADHD needs to be doing and is gonna just totally thrive in. But it was a particular time in the world, and job was a job, I guess, at that time. More or less. Do what you gotta do, right? I think the most fun I ever had in like a non-related job was actually working in a coffee shop. And that probably had a lot to do with the atmosphere and the people I worked with. Which was funny because I was in my 20s when I worked there, and at the time everybody else was like significantly younger than me. They were high school and college age and such. So I was like the old lady there, which was pretty funny and kind of fun. maybe? I don't know how happy I am with that. I feel like I should be leaning more into like the lighter gold parts of that section of swirls. The highlights more than the darker lines. So let's do a little bit of that. Oh, I also, sorry, again, doing the microphone with my brush. Happen to have seen the Indiana Jones movie this weekend, the new one. Which I guess isn't doing too hot. There's other movies I would be more excited to go see at the moment, but never go to the theater. It's been years. It was fine. It was entertaining enough and well enough done send off, I think, for what is maybe the end of it. I think at least with Harrison Ford, but I'm pretty sure everyone thought that with the last one he did. So who knows? Okay, I started putting some of the little square shapes up in here last time, and I'm not quite happy with the tone of those, so I'm going to do that a little bit. To just be darker. I see a bit of an orange tint to them, depending on which picture I'm looking at. But there's that reflective quality that has a lot of dark components to it. I have to admit, I've never played around with using gold, like gold leaf or anything in artwork. I've just never thought that I had like the right occasion to do so, I guess, maybe. A proper usage or intention for it. And there is a little bit of a almost kind of trendy element to it currently, so that kind of tends to be a bit of a turn-off for me. And I can't help that. It's just baked into who I am. Oh, that thing's popular? Let me absolutely refuse it. It's about right. The girl that played the lead in the Indiana Jones movie. She's in a show called Fleabag, and I was recommended that as the show that I may possibly like. So I guess I'll have to look into that. I'm not kind of watching any shows. I guess kind of. I did watch the last season of The Witcher, which was fine, I guess. And of course, Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. I've been watching that, which has been pretty decent, all things considered. I am a big time. I have at times been very much a big dork for Star Trek. If it's done right, I haven't cared for a lot of what's come out. And I just have a really hard time deciding that I want to watch a show. It's a lot of commitment. I'm more likely to start one and be like, oh yeah, that's pretty good, and then forget to ever go back to it. So it's more likely that my partner is interested in watching it, and so they put it on TV, and then then I'll see it because, well, somebody else is controlling the situation. Otherwise, I'm not too worried about it, I guess. Of shows that I've started in the last maybe 6 months and not finished, or longer ago even. I started watching The Boys and I actually rather enjoyed it. I'm so not caught up on it. Power, I started watching that. It's like, it's pretty good. And then I never went back to it. Vampires. I still keep meaning to go back and finish watching Twin Peaks. I only ever watched the first season. It's been a while. But also not in a hurry on that one because I believe the more recent stuff has only came out on, I don't know, Showtime or something, some channel that I don't have, so I'm also never in a hurry to see anything. Can I watch it at home? No? Alright, then. What's the rush? Look, more swirls. I also have to keep a list running somewhere of movies that I actually want to see, because also, as goes with starting something and forgetting that I cared to ever watch it, I forget the things that I want to watch. So when I actually have time to sit and, hey, I can watch something that I want to watch, but I don't remember any of what I actually want to see. So that's kind of a thing too. See, the blue color that I put down a bit ago, what's left there is basically dried up already. Now I feel like maybe that's too dark. Yeah. Getting the right balance of the gold tone at any given point on here. It's a little crazy. Oh yeah, I have teeth. It's a little cold now, but that's okay. Alright, I've kind of been spending a long time in this area. I kind of would like to wrap that up. So let's see what we do. Alright, let's keep going. Let's get some momentum on this bad boy. lots of circle shapes all around her. Okay. This is already kind of nuts. Already. Like it hasn't been for a while now. Yeah, this is nuts. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's get into some of the shapes on the dress now. Okay, so I need more of the gold colors again. My palette is just a giant mess at this point. And yeah, it's starting to get to be hard to tell what's wet and what isn't. So I'm going back in over all the little swish marks that are on there and painting some gold squares wherein the shapes of what looks, I mean, I'm describing it as a coffee bean. That's what it looks like to me. That's my Rorschach test for you. I see coffee everywhere. So yeah, painting some of these squares in. And I'm not going to be matching exactly what's on the painting, but kind of approximations. is possible that I'll need to give these a second layer if they just sort of disappear with transparency, but some transparency is okay. We just kind of have to see how it looks when it's dried. And where I had said that I didn't want to get too bogged down in the details of things, I think I've kind of allowed myself to do that a little bit today. So that's just sometimes, sometimes you gotta catch yourself at it. Hi, Danny. Looking good. I almost forgot about your life. Oh, well, thank you for joining. Good to see you tonight. Hopefully it's nice and cool over by you compared to the heat we've been having. But I know, well, that I know you've been having. Today wasn't too bad out here. Let's see here. How many more big shapes do we want to add in? Okay. Call that fine for that side of our gown. Come back in on the other side. Hopefully you guys get some rain. We did have a pretty good dose of rain one day this last week where we had some crazy storms coming through. I want to say that might have been Thursday, the morning that I streamed last week of the day. No, it wasn't. It was the day before. We'd had power outages and some things like that, but they had all these warnings for how severe the storms were going to be, but it really just ended up being rain, a little bit of wind, but mostly rain, lots of lightning. So not bad, all things considered, but yeah, we're doing better for rain than we had been doing for a long time, but I don't have too much of a garden or anything to really be on top of it, but I definitely hear people talking about how things are doing for them. It is both a curse and a blessing of living in a condo building. All I've got for outdoor space is a patio, but I got it, and I don't have to mow grass. So that's the blessing part of it. I feel like I'm gonna start going cross-eyed doing this. I probably should. I mean, it was a lot to chew up, a lot. I took a big, I don't know, what am I trying to say? Well, I can't find the words I'm trying to find, but yeah, this was a very ambitious choice to make for a master's study, that's for sure. One that I was hoping wouldn't take a ridiculous amount of time too, which is not really turning out to be the case, but we'll see how much more to work with on here before it's kind of like in a place where things are looking decent enough. John started a patio garden this year. The tomatoes were the peppers are doing much better. You know, that's funny because the times that we've tried to grow things on our patio, and we're east facing with a big overhang, so we get very little direct sun. But peppers do really well in pots. We would get all kinds of hot peppers and make hot sauce. Haven't done that for a few years now. But that was always a lot of fun and just always kind of amazed me how well that the hot peppers would do. They liked growing on a patio so much, little pots. And remarkably, there were critters around here that would start to give me a run for the money on them, even like the really hot ones. The Thai chilies. I grew ghost peppers, habaneros, Scotch bonnets. So primarily like hot along those lines. And yeah, if I didn't get to them soon enough, once they were like really peak ripeness, some critter was getting up there to get them up here on the second floor. Apparently they didn't mind the burn. Which was pretty impressive in my book. Hello, Watson. You coming to say hi? No stepping in the wet paint, all right, my baby? Good Lord. It's a very talkative cat. Just jalapenos and bells to start with. He got nets to put over them because we were having critters eating them as well, along with the tomatoes. Yeah, they did. They really like the tomatoes, anything sweet, but I was just so surprised that, like, and even jalapenos, they're not considered the hottest pepper, but every now and again you can get one that knocks your socks off a bit. Oh, and there's a cat behind me. Hey, you. Saw this quote on somewhere on the internet yesterday, or maybe a couple days ago, something to the extent of, behind every strong, independent woman is a cat who follows her to the bathroom, and yeah, that's the truth. Come on, Watson. He's like, he doesn't like to get on my lap at all, but he'll like get on the chair next to me. I don't think you guys can quite see where he is. Let me see if I can. There he is. Curious about what I'm doing, huh? You just gotta not put your nose too much into the paint, all right? See? Paint. We've had this happen more than once though, so I do have to be careful with him. Wanting to be right there next to me. You're very cute, but you cannot get in the paint. That brush is too wet. When I'm painting on a big canvas, where it's like on the easel, or before I had the easel, I'd have it propped up on against the ground, against a wall on the ground. He would try to attack the brush through the back of the canvas. He'd get behind it and like trying to get at me when I was brushing at it. So helpful. Oh my goodness, breaking my chair. Yours is meowing in the hall. Yeah, that's usually where Watson is. Yelling at me when I'm in here because he's bored, and why am I sitting in my studio when there's things we could be playing or doing. He'd become very, very obsessed with drinking water out of the bathroom faucet. Kind of a fault, I'll admit that. So I just yesterday set it up. Got him his own little cat fountain, kind of one with a little spout that comes out kind of like a fountain. And he is incredibly happy with that. Who would have thought? He's always been such a good drinker of water that I never thought that I needed to get him a fountain, but man, would you not tear my chair to pieces, mister? Huh? What? What you doing? What you doing? Yes, you're cute. You and your claws. Hmm? I think he has some concept of an audience, and he kind of hams it up a little bit sometimes when I'm just streaming. Oh my goodness, what are you doing? You trying to climb up the back of the chair? Huh? You goofy guy. The water fountain, but she seems to forget it sometimes. Oh no. Yeah, he was getting to the point that he was just like, I'm not going to drink my water out of my dish unless I have no choice, and he'd sit in the bathroom on the counter and yell to have the water turned on for him. He's not spoiled or anything. Hello, Natalia. Nice to see you here. Trying to keep my cat off of the painting. Mostly at the moment. Oh, there he is. At least for the moment, he's occupied elsewhere. Alright, now I'm starting to get into the eyeballs. And there's a lot of eyeballs and triangles on this dress. And now you're going to try to drink my tea? Okay. Hi. Nothing like having a cat in my studio. You stay down, mister. Paints are not good eats. We've established this fact. So I'm going to try to get anything that I see on here that's blatantly blue I'm kind of just taking the paint right out of here so I don't dry it out on the canvas. So any place where I see that I want to have this kind of blue color, I'm just gonna go ahead and start to grab those spots. Some very tiny circles happening around the lady. You can definitely tell that the days are getting shorter around here. Being pitch black outside right now. And it was sunny when I started streaming, which was about an hour and a half ago. So it probably looks kind of weird just doing this color, these little blobs of things here and there, but I'm just kind of knocking out one color at a time, at least with this particular tube. There's just tons of circles up in this area. Yeah, dark there as well. Yeah, we should, you and I think Danny and I are in the same time zone, I believe. So it's 8:39 p.m. So yeah, it's pitch black. But at least it's also, at least here it's cooler, which is kind of nice. It's been so hot for so long. So that we can actually have, a window or two open, at least at this time of night. So it is nice to be able to get some fresh air in the house. Same time zone. It finally went down to 99 degrees. Oh my. That's nuts. Was that your high today? 99 Fahrenheit? Oh man. That's hot. I can't complain then at all. Like, I think it's hot here, but it's not that bad at all. It's not. Nope. Cannot compare to that. Tomorrow's supposed to be 107 here. I'm sorry. It's just crazy, this heat going on and on. I had to stop at a Target store today during the day to get, it was just the closest place to where I happened to be. And I needed some cardstock to print out labels for artwork on. And people are there shopping for back to school stuff for their kids. So things like, school supplies, the pencils, pens, notebooks, all that stuff. So that was kind of crazy in there. And I had not thought about that or anticipated that going there. So, but that's crazy. You know, it's so crazy hot, and then people are getting ready to go back to school already, and days are getting shorter. Just, yeah, time keeps moving as it does. I think every summer goes by, and I'm like, did I even do anything for the summer? Like every year, it's the same. Some schools are starting here at 8:16. Crazy. I think it might be around then here too. I'm not exactly sure. Being as I don't have any kids, I'm not super on top of what those dates are. But I do have some nieces, and I think that might be about the time that they're going back. But they're all, even though they're in the same school district, 3 of them, it seems to be all different start times, which is kind of crazy. Do not miss those days. The only thing that I miss about school was like having that time, knowing that summer would eventually come and you'd have, you know, a couple months away from school with maybe very little responsibility, hopefully little responsibility. That was always ever the best part of school, and the only thing that I miss is summer vacation. When my cat visited, he left plenty of cat hair behind. It's like a dust cloud, it just ends up everywhere. So many tiny little shapes. I need to be letting go of some control here, not trying to do every single one of them. Right, I need to start paying attention to where I can kind of just start blocking in some of these different colors I'm using. So I'm not jumping around too much, and I can kind of start to accomplish something maybe. Try, if I work a little bit, force myself to try to work a little bit faster. That can kind of force me to not get bogged down into the details quite as much. Maybe. That's the plan anyway. Let's see. I do wonder about like symbolism in his work too. I am using acrylic gouache actually. So it is a bit water soluble when I first lay it on, but once it dries, it is no longer. Because it is in an acrylic binder. As I understand it, the biggest difference between like a paint being acrylic and a paint being a gouache in terms of having an acrylic binder is the amount of pigment that's in it. Yeah, it does dry quite fast. Gouache has a higher level of pigment in it, and therefore it cannot be called acrylic paint. But it will have more intense colors. And then depending on the binder that it's using, it's either going to be acrylic gouache or just like designer gouache, which is always water soluble and always can be reactivated with water, much like watercolor paint. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm trying to learn and mess around with some mediums that are a little bit different and new to me. Similar to some things that I work with, because I do work with watercolor quite a bit and acrylic paint quite a bit, but gouache is something I haven't played around with much before. And I just got a set, so we're giving it a try, doing some experimenting, and I thought it would be a really good idea to try it out first on something like this. But I'm enjoying it. It's very matte. Whereas acrylic, even like a matte acrylic, is going to have some kind of like sheen. You're going to see brush strokes in it. With the gouache, it dries, it has a kind of a leveling effect. And it dries generally pretty opaque and very flat, very matte. So it's definitely got a bit of its own qualities that are really interesting. But I hadn't known before I bought it about the difference in pigment content. So that was something that was really interesting to learn about for me. So it goes down a little bit more like acrylic than watercolor does in terms of how it goes onto the painting. But the fact that you can kind of like get a nice, smooth, fluid approach with it, and you can layer it, as I understand it, the gouaches that are not the acrylic-based ones get really kind of dull and cloudy if you reactivate them or put on watery layers on top of them, which doesn't seem to happen so much when you're using the acrylic-based gouache. So something like that anyway, maybe? I'm wondering if the eyes on the dress symbolize all eyes on her. It could be. Eyes have a lot of, I think they can symbolize, like, of course, there's the evil eye. That's more, I think he took a lot of symbolism from Greece and some biblical things, as well as a lot of Japanese influence in his work. So I don't think that the evil eye would be the intention of it, but it could be like just a matter of literally eyes looking, or it could possibly be a reference to maybe wisdom, or I don't know, to look into a little bit. He didn't talk much about his work ever, so it's a lot of guesswork, trying to figure out what he may have intended or not. I was also wondering if there would be a difference when the paint was reactivated. Eyes of everyone looking at her beauty. Yeah, probably. Probably. It would make sense given like that it's a portrait of, you know, this particular lady. That would make a lot of sense. Oh, there's my cat. Hi, Watson. He's back. Really? It's almost your supper time, is it? He gets a meal before bed to keep him satisfied all night long. So we split up his food during the day, and he gets one final meal at 9:30. So he still has a half an hour to go, but he's thinking about it. You know, he's got his priorities, and he needs to make sure that I'm not going to forget. Poor baby, he would just starve. I love how dramatic cats can be about getting their food. There's a quote that my dad used to say sometimes from, can't remember. But the quote is, hope springs eternal in the human breast. Man never is, but always to be blessed. And I rewrite that for the cats. Hope springs eternal in the feline breast. Cat always never is, but always to be fed. I didn't spit it out very well, but that's essentially the gist of it. It feels quite appropriate for these guys, this guy especially. He can very much misbehave. He decides he's hungry and nobody's paying attention to him. They're kind of looking right at you while he does the thing, kind of misbehaving. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna break out some nearly black. Got some of these little coffee beans to paint in. One. Yeah, that quote applies to most cats, I think. So much drama. I think they've never been fed before, and it's never going to happen again. It cracks me up. Primary motifs in this painting are, besides the eyeballs, swirls, squares. Well, I think the squares are primarily an offshoot of just the material he was using, the gold leaf, but then also the swirls and triangles, lots of triangles. Definitely unsure of how much of that is deliberate choices or otherwise. Just curious. I like the way he wrote his signature. That's something that I don't have a nice signature to be either legible or nice looking. Either one is not great. Something I never put much effort into thinking about or developing something. It just is what it is. And I'm also terrible at remembering to sign my work. That's something that I'm trying to be a little better at. Yes, I should sign my work. I try to. It'll be like ages later when I realize that I've forgotten something. I'm pretty good at signing things before I send them out to anybody now. I've gotten better at least at that, but I think I just rush through things at a certain point, and that can happen. I just don't even think about that part of it. Alright, lots of little triangles. Grass, put a few in black. A lot in gray. not terribly accustomed to doing this much tiny painting all at one time. I'm probably gonna need to give my eyes a good break once I finish the stream today. One thing though is I guess I'm getting pretty confident with doing a very fine line. As I go through this, that's something. Get here. They're inescapable. Where was me saying how I wasn't going to get caught up in tiny little details? That happened, right? Lots of swirls. I'm definitely losing my patience for doing tiny little swirls. Do you ever get lost in your paintings? Yeah, and I think this would be one where it would be very easy to do that. Just get sucked into doing these tiny little shapes and really start to like lose lose it. I was doing some tiny little shapes on one of my own paintings this last week, and I definitely had sort of that moment where it was like that cross between really just being sucked into it and just almost going cross-eyed from it as well. Tiny little bits of paper that I was working with, which is kind of it's fun, but yeah, you can definitely lose a bunch of time, just kind of hyper focus and almost meditative kind of a way, which is sort of a really nice place to get into. I'm becoming mesmerized. I think I am too. As I'm working through this and trying to kind of move it a little bit, so I'm not looking, oh, too wet. So I'm not doing this forever. But yeah, just the tiny little shapes and things are, it's somewhere in between being very soothing and also very stressful to do. It's like walking a line. But I could definitely see myself getting sucked into doing this for just an insane amount of time. Just adding more little details and little details. And that's gotta be kind of what the process was like to create this piece, I gotta think. There's so much, so many little things. Of course, the original is huge. So it would be a very different thing in that regard. But it's still a lot of tiny little shapes, even when you are working on a large canvas. Hi, Watson. Better to lose time painting or editing than losing it on social media. I agree with that. I definitely go through phases where I don't have a whole lot of the attention span to pay attention to social media even. Hi. Hey, cutie pie, what you doing? This silly cat. What are you doing? There's room for you. You can sit there. Come on. Just stay out of the paint is all. Well, having Watson definitely keeps me from getting too into anything because eventually he gets bored and comes and looks for me. But the plus side of that is, though, that when he's like, hey, remember, it's time for dinner or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, it is time for dinner. For me too. Because it could be pretty easy to just kind of forget to go feed myself when I'm really involved in something I'm working on. Watson, on the other hand, he doesn't forget. I tend to feel that like social media tends to be a little bit more of a chore. Like, it can be really nice to post things that I'm working on, and I love seeing things that other people are working on. But sometimes it feels like there are times that it feels like a thing that I'm supposed to be doing. And that makes it really hard to want to be on there. It is a chore, yeah. It definitely feels that way a lot of the time. Alright, I think next I need some grays, I guess. I still have any white here? I don't think so. Okay. Tiny bit more white. Just a tiny bit. Put it right there by my butt. I said tiny, I meant tiny bit. Alright. do. Oh, cat hair. All he has to do is look in my general direction. There's cat hair. One thing that hasn't happened much in the summer that I usually love is when there's like the storms at nighttime, where you can have your window open, just listen to the thunder, then rain. Well, at least for a few minutes, because it always makes me fall asleep, but I do kind of love those stormy nights. All of our storms have been smack dab in the middle of the day, for the most part. So that means usually I'm shutting down my computer when I need to be getting work done in the middle of editing a video or some such thing, because I don't want it to get in trouble with the storms. We both love storms. We haven't had any for a while. What? I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, I guess, in terms of the broader picture of weather, but I do love it. Those summer storms are always so nice. Yeah, you unplug your computer too with a storm. Yeah, they can be pretty intense, and we do have a bit of losing power around here, so summer storms are always a thing for that. So I try to always remember to shut off my computer for those. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm waiting for the storm to pass. What can I be working on? Especially if we lose power. Like, obviously I could be painting. Although sometimes that's not the thing that I needed to get done right at that minute. And that's usually when it's frustrating. You guys have ComEd for electric, right? Yes, we still have ComEd. And if we don't lose electricity, we'll probably usually end up losing our internet. That's just as common. It seems to happen a lot here. More than maybe anywhere else I've lived. Is everything else all dried up already? Mostly. That's kind of the The main downfall to working with this acrylic gouache is, and it can be probably a good thing or a bad thing, but it dries very fast. Maybe even slightly faster than just regular acrylic paint. Okay. This is one of those things where I have to know or decide when I want to say this is done, because I could very easily just go on for ages adding more little details and elements that are on here. It'd be very easy to do. So, trying to decide when enough is enough. When did I get the point? Have I achieved the look of it? Well, one thing I think I could do still maybe is just paint in some of those really highlighted gold squares, like really punch them up a little bit maybe. If you've gotten the gist of the painting, you can tell who was your inspiration. I'm a stickler for details, and I'd keep going until I drove myself crazy. Yeah, and honestly, I'm just realizing that I've been at this for now 2.5 hours, so I think it's probably a pretty good time to say that we got it. It's not a duplicate copy. And I think it captures it pretty well, especially if you're not looking super close for all the intricate detail, which is more suggested than anything else, which is what I was going for. But this has been a really fun and interesting piece to do. This is very different for me to do something like this, to do kind of a master study and see what I can kind of glean from it and learn and play around with. It's been a lot of fun. And it has been a challenge, for sure. I mean, I purposely tried to pick something that was referenced things that I'm interested in my own art, but also is very different in how I work. Here we are. So 2.5 hours today. Started at 7, it's 9:30, and then there were 2 hours on Thursday, plus the sketch period. So my goodness, that's been perhaps more time than I initially expected. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm pretty happy with how this has turned out and what I've gleaned from it. And I could go on probably for a couple more hours and just keep playing and adding and things. But for the scale of it and everything else, I think it's good. So we're going to call it a night before this stream becomes an all-night stream. And get some dinner, and thanks for hanging out and keeping me company for, oh my goodness, this has been a bit of a long one. Oh, thank you. It was fun. This has been a fun thing to mess around with and play with. A little recreation and opportunity to definitely learn a bit. And have a great night. I'm actually not going to be streaming on Thursday. I need to put that out. I need to make a little post about that as well. I will not be posting this Thursday. I'll be out of town, but next Monday evening, I will be back here again, and we'll be working on something brand new. Probably. All right, good night. Have a good one.